Julie Bell steps into the spotlight and immediately turns up the heat, raising questions about Meghan Markle's rumored yacht girl past. But she does it in a calculated, strategic way, as if every move has been carefully planned.
Mainstream is starting to open up the dialogue for more and more credibility with the journalists that have, I think, been told not to even mention.
Publishing this in The Spectator, one of the UK's oldest and most respected publications, instantly changes the tone. Please subscribe, it cost you nothing, but it's really so much to me. What was once confined to online whispers and scattered gossip suddenly feels structured, stamped, and far more difficult to dismiss. It takes the story to another level, more official, more serious, and much harder to ignore. Almost overnight, it feels like the stakes have risen.
To start, questioning things about Meghan that we all have some evidence of. I mean, what is she doing on the yacht? Why did David Boies want to question?
With more attention and scrutiny focused on it than ever before. This move connects directly to the wider buzz surrounding Meghan Markle and the so-called Girls' Weekend. But it's a topic that has been circulating quietly for some time, but it has never been pushed this openly into mainstream discussion. Not this directly, not this loudly. Now, with a recognized media figure openly signaling a willingness to question Meghan about these rumors, the tension noticeably increases. The story begins to feel like it is entering a new phase, more serious, more confrontational. Curiosity continues to grow, fueled by gaps, unanswered questions, and unclear details about that period in her life. These uncertainties keep drawing people back, again and again. And it's not just curiosity. There's also a lingering sense that something hasn't been fully explained.
Something there that we need to find the missing pieces.
That feeling alone keeps the conversation alive, constantly evolving and growing louder over time. And then the situation intensifies further with the introduction of David Boies, the former lawyer for the late Virginia Giuffre. At that point, the tone shifts immediately. He is reportedly said to have pushed for Meghan Markle to provide a deposition regarding what she may have known about the behavior of Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. That detail alone raises significant attention because it reframes the discussion entirely. This is no longer just speculation circulating online. It starts to connect to legal questions, potential testimony, and serious public interest. Once a story enters that territory, people begin to pay much closer attention, and the debate quickly intensifies. Then there is Gemma, the individual reportedly organizing this entire situation. According to reports, now she is dealing with major financial difficulties and has declared bankruptcy, with debts said to be around 700,000 Australian dollars. That detail alone shifts the mood instantly. Now the situation feels less like a passion-driven project and more like a high-pressure financial move, especially when combined with ongoing discussions suggesting that Meghan Markle herself is focused on securing significant income streams. Suddenly, money becomes a central theme in everything that is happening. This is exactly where Julie Bell's commentary cuts through sharply, delivered in a bold and attention-grabbing way. She describes Meghan as having moved from royalty into the world of pay-by-the-hour celebrity. And that phrase resonates strongly, because it captures how this situation appears from the outside, unfiltered. What once might have been seen as a royal-style engagement now begins to resemble a premium experience being packaged and sold to the public. According to reports, Meghan is set to host a women-only weekend retreat during an upcoming trip to Australia, with tickets priced at 2,699 Australian dollars. That figure alone immediately draws attention. This is not casual pricing. It is clearly positioned as a luxury-level experience. And with that price point comes a heightened expectation. People will expect something truly memorable in return. The event is marketed as a girls' weekend like no other, set at the 5-star Intercontinental Sydney at Coogee Beach. The setting reinforces a polished, high-end image that feels carefully designed to impress. The host of the Best Life podcast positions Meghan as an inspirational figure, and openly expressing admiration for what she has endured and presenting her as a symbol of resilience. This becomes a central element in how the entire event is framed. The messaging leans heavily into themes of empowerment, healing, and personal growth, centered around the idea that a woman can face setbacks and still rise again. That narrative is strongly emphasized throughout the promotion. However, at the same time, there is a clear contrast between that message and the exclusivity of a 300-person event costing thousands of dollars to attend. This raises questions about how accessible that empowerment really is. The experience is described as an intimate fireside chat with Meghan. But realistically, with 300 attendees present, it is far more likely to feel like a staged presentation rather than a truly personal and interactive conversation. The schedule includes activities such as sound healing, meditation sessions, manifestation workshops, and group discussions, all carefully arranged to create a specific atmosphere of reflection and connection. Everything appears highly structured and intentionally designed. For some, this may sound appealing and relaxing. For others, it may come across as overly curated, even repetitive, especially when packaged into a premium-priced experience that promises something unique. There is also a strong emphasis on branding throughout the event. From curated experiences to themed messaging around reconnecting, recharging, learning, and enjoying meaningful moments, every detail contributes to a carefully crafted image. While the presentation is polished, it also feels tightly controlled. Even smaller elements, such as how drinks are served or how keepsakes are presented, reinforce the sense that everything has been designed step by step to appear exclusive, memorable, and visually perfect. Julie Bell takes a more skeptical perspective, suggesting that the best social experiences tend to feel natural and unforced, not something mapped out in advance down to every detail. The concern is that the event may prioritize image and presentation over authenticity, leaning toward a highly managed environment where everything follows a script rather than unfolding organically. One of the main selling points is the promise of an in-person conversation with Meghan. However, expectations may differ. At large, structured events like this, the genuine audience interaction is often limited, which raises questions about how personal or meaningful the experience will truly feel for those paying a premium price. At the same time, the event also introduces lighter elements like a dance floor and social gatherings. These are clearly intended to balance out the more serious, introspective sessions and give attendees a chance to relax and unwind. Those moments could easily end up being the most memorable parts of the entire experience, simply because they break away from the tightly structured schedule and allow for something that feels more natural, more social, and less controlled. What really stands out in all of this is how Meghan Markle is being positioned, not just as a public figure, but as the central focus of a paid experience where access itself becomes part of the product. From photo opportunities to live appearances, every detail reinforces the idea that this is no longer about a traditional royal presence. Instead, it feels like carefully curated celebrity engagement, and that is exactly where the conversation keeps circling back again and again. This shift from royalty to a more commercial, event-driven image is what's driving so much attention, debate, and strong reactions from both supporters and critics. And the reality is, no one seems to fully agree on what it actually means. Then the situation takes a sharp turn when even the Wall Street Journal enters the conversation with a perspective that is raising eyebrows everywhere. This isn't a minor outlet, this is a major publication. Now the discussion escalates, with talk about the possibility that Prince William and Prince Harry might only reconnect under one very specific and highly dramatic scenario. That idea alone adds an entirely new layer of tension to an already intense situation. What makes this even more striking is that the report hints at something people usually avoid saying out loud: the possibility that, at some point, Harry and Meghan could actually separate. That possibility alone immediately shifts the tone and grabs attention. It suggests that if such a situation were to occur, it might be the one thing that forces the brothers back into contact. Not by choice, but by circumstance. It's a dramatic idea, but at the same time, it's difficult to ignore. The report, highlighted by Daniela Elser from news.com.au, frames this as a shocking scenario, especially when you consider what is believed to be 1,284 days of silence between William and Harry. That number alone carries weight. It highlights just how deep the divide between them really is. The idea of them casually exchanging messages or sitting down for a relaxed conversation feels almost impossible right now. And that is exactly why this particular scenario is attracting so much attention and sparking such intense discussion. According to the Wall Street Journal, based on more than a dozen interviews with individuals connected to the couple, there is a growing sense that things behind the scenes may not be as stable as they appear publicly. That perception continues to fuel speculation. While Harry is described as settled into family life in Montecito, doing school runs and continuing his advocacy work, there are also reports suggesting he has been feeling isolated and uncertain about his long-term direction. That adds another layer of complexity to the situation. At the same time, Meghan is said to be focusing on new projects and fresh opportunities. This creates a noticeable contrast in priorities, something that more observers are beginning to notice and question. The situation becomes even more layered when looking at Harry's personal circle. Reports suggest that he is now only in contact with one of the men who served as his best man at his wedding. That detail stands out strongly, especially when you think about how large and close-knit his circle once seemed, full of familiar faces and long-standing connections. Now, by comparison, it appears significantly smaller. This contributes to a growing sense of distance, not only from his family, but also from parts of his previous life, making everything feel more disconnected than it once was. Then there is the situation with the Archewell Foundation, which was reportedly dissolved in December. This caught staff completely off guard and left many people with serious questions about what the couple is actually building together moving forward. When you combine that with the idea that they may not currently have as many shared projects, it feeds into a wider narrative that things behind the scenes may be shifting in ways the public does not fully see yet. And that uncertainty is exactly what keeps people talking. But the most explosive part of this entire report comes right at the end. And it's the detail that has people reacting strongly and paying close attention. The Wall Street Journal points out that if Prince Harry were ever to remarry, he would need formal consent from the monarch at the time, which could be Prince William as king. That single detail immediately changes the weight of the situation. What would normally be a personal matter suddenly becomes something much bigger, pulling it into constitutional and royal territory. It raises the stakes significantly because if that moment ever came, it wouldn't just be about a new marriage. It would force direct communication between the brothers after years of silence. It could even impact titles and royal status, in adding yet another layer of pressure to an already tense situation. What makes this so striking is that a major publication like the Wall Street Journal is even discussing this possibility openly, bringing something that usually stays within quiet speculation into the mainstream spotlight. It takes an idea that has mostly existed as rumor and pushes it into broader public discussion. That's exactly why people are reacting so strongly and debating it from every angle. Whether it ever actually happens is another question entirely. But the fact that it is being treated as a serious possibility shows just how much the narrative around Harry and Meghan continues to evolve, and how unpredictable the next chapter could be. Now, the situation becomes even more intense because Prince Harry's court case adds another layer of drama, but with Charlotte Griffiths emerging as a key figure right in the middle of it all. What makes this twist stand out is that Griffiths, the Mail on Sunday's editor-at-large and co-host of Palace Confidential, has recently been associated with coverage that many perceived as more favorable toward Harry and Meghan than expected. That alone surprised a lot of observers. Despite that, Harry is still challenging her account in court, and that clash makes everything feel more complicated, more personal, and much harder to untangle. Charlotte Griffiths is not a random name being pulled into this story. She is a well-connected media figure with deep ties in royal and society reporting, and that gives her words significant weight. That's exactly why her testimony is drawing so much attention right now, because it could shape how the entire situation is viewed moving forward. For a long time, Harry has pushed back against claims that they had any real personal connection, including suggestions that they communicated through Facebook or that he gave her his private phone number. But now Griffiths is presenting a much more detailed version of events, and her account is putting serious pressure on that denial. The core issue in this dispute comes down to details. Harry's side appears to focus on technical distinctions, narrowing the discussion to specific wording and definitions. According to Griffiths, however, the issue is not about whether every small detail was described perfectly. It is about whether any real contact or social overlap existed at all, and she is very clear on that point. She insists that it did. And she clarified that she never claimed a Facebook account used a specific name, only that phone numbers were exchanged via Facebook and that communication did take place. That distinction matters because it shifts the focus away from minor technicalities and back to the bigger question, whether they were in contact in any meaningful way. In her witness statement, Griffiths described being invited to an after-party connected to Prince Harry's circle back in 2012. This adds a real-world context to the claims being discussed. After a night hike with Arthur Landon, a film producer and one of Harry's longtime friends, she told the court that Landon said Harry was staying at the flat and that the gathering was already underway. That detail creates a clearer picture of the situation. She also explained that if she arrived first, Harry would let her in. Another detail that adds specificity and grounding to her account. Griffiths described how loud the music was, so loud that no one could hear the doorbell. She said she was advised to call or text, just to get someone's attention and be let inside. Details like that make the scene feel vivid and real. They are not vague or general. They are specific, easy to visualize, and bring the story to life. She also recalled the timing clearly, saying it was around Trooping the Color. People reportedly found it amusing that Harry had stayed up all night despite having major royal duties the next morning. There was even joking about whether they should all go watch the event after getting little to no sleep. Moments like that make the situation feel more human and less staged. But these small but vivid details are exactly why her testimony is attracting so much attention. They make her account sound personal, grounded, and tied to a specific, recognizable moment in time. Griffiths also explained that she had moved in similar social circles for years. She attended the University of Leeds at the same time as Harry's former girlfriend, Chelsea Davy, and later spent time in high society settings, such as polo events and West London nightlife. This context helps explain why she says being around Harry's circle was not unusual for her at the time. It makes the connection feel natural rather than unlikely. It paints a picture of overlapping social worlds, where people cross paths regularly through mutual friends and shared environments, instead of suggesting something far-fetched, and it presents a scenario that feels plausible and grounded. She also emphasized that these environments often involve repeated encounters and shared networks, making contact over time completely normal. What makes the situation particularly intense is that this is all happening in court. This is not just media discussion, it is legal testimony, and anyone making false claims under oath would be taking a serious legal risk. That's exactly why this part of the case is being watched so closely. Every detail matters, and every statement can be challenged. The central issue is no longer about minor wording differences. It is about whether the broader claim holds up, that Charlotte Griffiths and Prince Harry did know each other socially, did communicate, and did cross paths in ways Harry has downplayed. But that is why this courtroom clash has become such a major talking point. It moves beyond semantics and directly into questions of credibility and what actually happened behind the scenes. Adding another layer to this already complex situation, Griffiths didn't just defend her claims. She also used the opportunity to demonstrate how she separates her personal life from her professional role. She backed this up with a specific example in court. She explained that although she moved in similar circles to Prince William and Prince Harry, she understood where the line was and made a deliberate decision not to cross it. She described attending a country house gathering where Prince William mentioned that Catherine, Princess of Wales, would not be present because she was suffering from morning sickness. At the time, that detail would have been a major headline. Any hint of a royal pregnancy would have been front-page news, yet Griffiths chose not to report it. She stated clearly, "I draw a line between my professional and personal life," explaining that she deliberately kept the information private, even though it meant missing a major scoop. That decision becomes even more significant when you consider that St. James's Palace only confirmed the pregnancy days later, after Catherine was hospitalized. This means Griffiths had the information early, but chose not to publish it. She is using that example to demonstrate that she respected boundaries and prioritized trust over headlines, a point that carries significant weight in this case. It directly supports her argument that she was not exaggerating connections for attention, but instead acted responsibly with the information she had. She also revealed that her then-editor, Geordie Greig, now editor of The Independent, was furious when he learned about it. From a newsroom perspective, it was a massive story to miss. That reaction adds another layer of tension, showing that her decision had real professional consequences, not something she is simply claiming after the fact. During the case, David Sherborne challenged her account, suggesting she had fabricated the story about Catherine's pregnancy to exaggerate her royal connections. Griffiths firmly denied this. At that point, the stakes rise significantly because all of this is being said under oath. If her claims were false, they could be challenged or contradicted by others involved, including her former editor. That is exactly why this moment in court stands out so strongly. This is no longer just about a single story. It is about credibility, professional boundaries, and whether her long-standing connection to royal circles is genuine or being questioned under intense legal scrutiny. If you've made it this far, share your thoughts. Because this situation keeps getting deeper and opinions are clearly divided. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share if you want more breakdowns like this. And stay tuned, because there is always more unfolding behind the scenes.